let's do this much more informal para we can, once in a while interact, 1 hour. Actually, this lecture is usually 1 semester to no? So, of course, it's one of the things I do at the Technology Management Center. And to date, we have been using this methodology for almost 100 plus technology foresight projects already in terms of students' capstone projects. Okay? And some of these projects have been used in private companies and of course in their own capacity to build or more or less as part of their strategic planning in organizations and private enterprises. So this is going to be a little bit detailed in a sense, but at the end of the day, you'll be able to see the essence why scenario building is very important. I will be discussing only to the portion in which the stages will be laid down. But as you can see in the workshop, there are 10 stages, and each stages will be part of the workshop until you reach stage 10. And for that reason, upon reaching stage 10, I do prefer that you be given a graduation certificate, because just imagine, doing this 6 months is actually an endeavor for anyone to understand the whole process, no? Kaya sinabi ko pa yung Ma'am Rod, there has to be a certificate for you to have undergone such training, as much as training I give to my students, and eventually to the capstone project. Okay? So without much further ado, let's now go to the whole process. As you can see, the main themes of this STI Foresight is around 8. So in fact, if you look at that situation, we have a complex scientific community, and each main theme, or each team is actually very complex in itself, no? So what we can do for this day is actually unravel more or less the tip, okay, the surface of what really these main themes are as we go along the foresight. The bonus there is actually the creation of the scenarios, no? You might be creating 1 or 2 scenarios. Eventually, you can create as many as you want in terms of excitement, but the whole point there is that creating 1 scenario or 2 is actually already a treat for you for the next hours, this day and tomorrow. Okay, so let's start now. So this is it. NAS, of course, the scientists, the staff, we're going to do this together, and that's me way back 1995. So just imagine, the years. I usually put that as a. Okay, I've grown with it. Foresight. Okay. I'm still a professor. Hopefully get my doctorate within the next 2 or 3. We've been a little bit on that side. Napako sa foresight. Ang dami na pinagawang projects, so things like that. Yeah, if I collect all those 100 foresight projects, that could be already a PhD degree, actually. Okay, this is a very important phrase. The future cannot be forecast; it is prepared. Okay. Preparation is very important, and the challenge that is given to STI and NAS is actually 50 years. And as the previous speaker said, Sherman said that 50 years, 30 years is actually what? Uncertainty unravels. No? The more you have a foresight, the longer period uncertainty actually will be creeping in. No? So this is actually the challenge for this group. Okay, so day 1. Let's now start with your lecture. Rationale of this is actually, what is it? Actually, scenario building is part of technology foresight. It is one of the tools. It is just one of the many tools combined, but we will be focusing ourselves on scenario building, emanating from the concept of technology foresight. This is how it goes. Okay, take a look at this. And there you go. See? As you can see, what is it? Foresight involves the systematic attempt to look into the longer-term future of science. National scientists, what's the future of science in the Philippines 30 years from now? Technology, where are our technologies heading? The economy, you need money to do science and technology. Will the economy of the Philippines be viable enough to sustain the 30 years foresight? The environment and society, basically, some pure technology might have impact on the environment or even humanity. Eventually, if you look at all this point of view, is that you are now going to identify emerging generic technologies and underpinning areas of strategic research likely to yield the greatest economic, environmental, and social benefits. What's the whole point of this? As of now, you have done already research. Okay? So, how long will this research last? Meaning, what are the outputs of this research is only up to how many years? Now, you're talking about 30 years. Meaning that, as the previous person, Sherman, said, that it is not yet invented. They are not yet there. The research that will be laid down 30 years are still not existing. You might have an idea already, but they will not be in fusion if you will not really lay down a plan for that. The research that we have been reaping rewards in terms of our country is actually what we have right now. Okay? So what are the research outputs that we are actually, reaping the rewards here in the Philippines? As of now, we have the dengue. Oh, that's it. It's already patented. Dengue detection kit. Okay. What else? What else technology do we have? We have the rice technology. Okay. We have the AGT. Okay, the monorail. Okay, and then of course we are already into space. So we're moving into space. Basically, we have such satellites. As of now, we have an array of technology, basically, which emanated from research. This is what we have right now in terms of our status. We have the seeds that Dr. Rascos already, modified or more or less, produced 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and we're using it. So this is the landscape now of the Philippines. What we have right now is, this is where we are. But how about 30 years? Are these products, what we have been creating, still going to be relevant in the next 30 years? That is the question, actually. Because of the changing situation, and in such a way that you are going to, again, the question is, are you ready for imagination? Okay, R&D is actually, again, imagination. An imagination with a twist, because you're dealing with the present data, but how about the 30-year data? They are not yet there. Okay, and this is actually the whole idea that it is actually finding a needle in the haystack, or something like that. What is the sweet spot for STI? Science, technology, and innovation. Where are we going to place our bets, our people, our scientists, our structures, our resources, laboratories for the next 30 years? That is the question. Okay? Okay, of course, that is from the APEC Center for Technology Foresight. Moving on. So what are the implications? See, as you can see, foresight is actually what? Systematic attempt to look to the future. We are now 2020. 30 years is systematic. We have to look into the future. If we don't look into the future, someone might be looking into the future of STI in the Philippines. Maybe Malaysia is looking at us right now. Maybe Indonesia. Okay? If we don't have such document in the next 30 years, they will be what? Open. Our scientific community will be open to them, meaning that they might find a sweet spot in terms of research and development that our country needs. And eventually, they'll be the ones reaping the rewards. Okay? So again, that is actually strategic in a sense. Second term there is long term. Typically, 10 years, and take note of the word there, possibly 25 to 30 years. So swak tayo doon. Foresight, scenario building can be done at that point. No? It is a process rather than set of techniques. And as of now, everyone is represented here. Research producers, okay, the top guns of the Philippine National Science and Technology, research users, you know where your research are, where they're going. Policymakers, of course, we have just signed the Innovation Act. Okay, so that is actually a welcome for us that S&T is actually already moving into not really the political arena, but the decision-making arena for the country. And eventually, the community. The product of this foresight, the whole exercise from today till tomorrow, is going to be what? It will not stay as a paper. It will be presented. Okay, so as national scientists, academician, a lot of things is expected from us, from you. Okay, and this is actually what the Philippines is waiting for. This, from my point of view, is a very historic moment to come up with a national foresight for 8 teams for the country. Okay. Okay, next one. Implications again. Well, you can read through, but the whole point there is that what I'm trying to say about foresight is that the first bullet there, emerging technology, exploitation, the benefits, and take note of the third one, technologies in their pre-competitive state, meaning that are we ready to compete with some technologies that we have not yet handled? Selective funding to ensure rapid development. Where will we put our money in terms of, let's say, transforming science, technology, innovation, into the commercial application? And actually strategic in a sense, where are we going to put our budget for strategic research? What do you mean by strategy? Meaning it's not short-term, it's long-term. And the objectives of the country must be fulfilled based on certain programs, objectives of our country. And of course, the solution to current or future practical problems, we can also look into the social, new technological benefits and these benefits. Take note, it is not just impact on industry and the economy. The whole point is that science, technology, innovation, at this day and age, you must have what? The social dimension. Who's going to benefit from this? Okay? The more that we can say that this foresight will benefit, the classes from class D, C, B, and A, or even the E class, is very important. This endeavor is actually could be addressing those situations there. Okay, this is just a way for you to say that what is the difference between foresight and forecast? Foresight, this is it, recognition of uncertainties. 30 years is risky. Adaptive understanding, why are we going to be engaged in that technology or innovation, and it's qualitative. We cannot, numbers are great, data are great, but the whole point is transform those data into something descriptive. Okay, because once data is just like numbers, who would understand that? Okay, remember you have different strata, A, B, C, and D. Even the A class would not appreciate numbers. They would appreciate trends. They would appreciate characteristics, quality. Okay, yes. Because that is actually how you communicate science, technology, and innovation. We cannot say, okay, we're looking at around the summation of X, Y, and Z resulting to a negative influx of this energy would result into this kind of application. Can the ordinary Filipino understand that? You see? He understands what? This technology will be able to what? Lessen my expenses. This technology will be able to what? Make me feel good. This technology will be able to increase my crop yield. This technology will be able to make our work in the university or in this factory efficient. This technology can replace this import. It could be a substitute. See, those are the things that, how science emanates and be appreciated by the different classes of society. Okay? Okay, how about forecasts? This is much more certainties. Okay? This is more of the predictive type. It disguises uncertainties. Once you're predicting, you are not actually saying the uncertainties. It's a prediction. And eventually, sometimes the risks are concealed. Eventually, it's a single point projection from point A to point B, moving into more quantitative. Okay? So this one, the forecast, we can extract a lot of forecasts, but take note the forecast must be fed into the foresight. And this is actually where you are standing now. Scenario building is actually a foresight exercise because you're looking at the long term, the future, What you're dealing with is actually qualitative data already transformed. Okay, the key elements: structured anticipation, interactive and participative methods. We have 8 teams here. Who knows? These teams might be what? Intersecting. One team can benefit another team. 3 teams could be actually combined into one. It depends now on how we process the whole spectrum of what we have already gathered in the previous weeks about your STIs. New networks can be formed here. Definitely the visioning. Okay? Vision cannot just be what? Something that I vision for the next 30 years, something will happen like this. No. Once you put the word strategic, the whole point is that the vision is laid down on a mission, an objective, and a goal. And that is actually, the visioning becomes much more what? A parameter based, meaning that something is expected out of this visioning. Let's say, for example, a qualitative situation that poverty could be reduced, scientists could be increased, education level could be what? Increased also, competitiveness could be also increased. So see, all these situations can be now connected. And basically, this is all about present-day decisions and actions. The foresight, the scenario building that you'll be doing today is actually what? This will be a historic document. We are lucky to be conducting this because 30 years is actually what? This is what we know is a pamana. Ipapamana mo to sa next generation. That laying this is actually a very important legacy. Okay? Because if you don't have any pamana for the next generation of scientists, okay, that is going to be a dilemma. You have a foresight dilemma, meaning that you will just be what? You will just be reactive to what's happening in society, in technology, in natural disasters, etc. Okay? It's going to be more or less a little bit chaotic in a sense. No? Yeah. Okay, and then of course, there could be some social benefits in these benefits in such a way that foresight or scenario building can reduce these benefits. So this is actually why we are being engaged in this exercise. Okay? You might not be, you just don't focus on new networks. You focus on everything. Things will be coming here as you go into the process. Okay, the 6 conditions of a foresight. Communication. You are now communicating as a scientist. You will be communicating this to your different constituents, to the national government, to the people, the Philippines. We can bring people together. Concentration. 2 days. What can we do in 2 days? But take note, you are here in this room. Something might come out with the different things. But take note that concentration can lead for another round of what? Analysis about this scenario building that you have created. Eventually, it should be longer term. This is just the tip of the iceberg that we're doing. Remember that what you're doing is for long-term vision. And of course, here you go, R&D partnerships. 8 teams, you might see here that some of the teams might interact. We could have energy and water for ICT combination. There could be what? A health and ICT combination. There could be food and nutrition and ICT combination. It depends now. You see, some of these factors will be coming out. And coordination. You as national scientists is actually what? This is the added burden on scientists because you will be coordinating with a lot of scientists. The usual scientist is what? They're in the lab, right? But you are going to set out the trend that scientists need not be in the lab. Scientists need to coordinate and collaborate. Okay, this is actually some of the scenarios you will be coming out like this. Eventually, consensus building must be created to have a clear picture of the future, and eventually commitment. So, Ma'am Rod, whatever what we produce here, this is a national commitment. Okay? 30 years national commitment set for iterations. Okay? And this is 30 years for the Philippine STI. Okay? I'm already 53 next week. So 30 years, Ma'am Rod? Yes? Well, knock on wood. Okay. So, my son, my apo, etc., will be the legacy to see this work that we are doing, that you are doing, that we as scientific, social, technological, and economic expertise or experts in this country are doing. Okay? So this is going to be this documents will be part of our legacy. Not only our legacy, but this will be part of our commitment to the country. Okay? Moving on. Okay, and then of course implementation. Ito yung problema. Be ready for a lot of support and collaboration in terms of finances, networks, structures, okay, infrastructure even. Who knows? One of the teams here might be what? We might build a new infrastructure for the country. Okay, it will come up in the situation. It might be like that. No? It might be an infrastructure. It might be producing the next 1,000 scientists again. Okay. So this is actually the challenge that might arise from this, and eventually comprehension. Comprehension meaning that as scientists, the holistic way of understanding each and every theme here is very important. And 30 years, we hope that the Philippines will be changing at a global level. So kaya ba? Well, we have just sent 2 satellites upstairs. Diba, may dalawa tayong Diwata at saka ng isa? Diwata 1, Diwata 2. Okay? So, ang susunod sino? Aswang. This is a joke. Aswang 1 or something like that. Or Tikbalang, whatever. So, okay? Kung may Diwata, syempre may Aswang or something like that. Just a joke for you to wake up. Okay, this is actually the balanced perspective. This is just a diagram to tell you that as scientists, we're pushing science. Okay? But take note that there are priorities in this world. Okay? You have broader community. The sciences are the R&D and strengths of the country, and resources are there, and there could be technological opportunities. What I mean about this is that you must be balancing the two situations. Okay, of course you can put some more there in the diagram there, no? But the whole point there is that science and technology push must be actually linked to the demand pool also. Okay, and this is actually one of the riddles, one of the situations that you will be unraveling as we go further. Okay, and there you go. The last bullet there is commercial opportunities. And this is where you see S and T becomes now what? A part as a factor for our GDP growth, or economic growth. Okay? Okay, so if you look at technology foresight, we are going to use scenario planning or scenario building. Actually, this is what you call scenario building because scenario planning is a different situation. The scenarios are already there and you are planning to create those scenarios. Here, you're going to build the scenarios, meaning that you will be starting from, not really zero, but a green field. Okay, it's a greenfield situation. 30 years after, from your expertise, what could be the scenarios? See, this is actually what foresight is. You can do a lot of this, but we are concentrating on scenario building. So if you look at that, the whole point there is that you can combine actually, and actually you have done already Delphi, some environmental scan, eventually at the end of the day, you might see a lot of future going on. So we are actually what? We are poised with a lot of techniques and methods in order to understand the future of the Philippines. Okay? Okay, years. You're doing strat plan, 1 to 2 years. That's a given every year. You go out once in a while. Wala ng Boracay, sarado muna ngayon or something. You can go to Laguna or Los Baños. 1 to 2 years, basically, the operations. 2 to 5 years, trend analysis. Expert opinion, eventually technology road mapping. But as you can see, Delphi polling can be 3 to 10 years. In practice, scenario planning is there, building. We call it scenario building plus scenario planning, 5 to 50 years. See, that's how useful this technique is. Okay, some postscripts for you. Life can only be understood backwards but must be lived forward. So what do you mean by this? Move on. Diba? What happened to the Philippines? Accept it. That's a past, but we have to move on. Okay? Next one. Scenario planning enables us to use the power of hindsight by transporting us to the plausible futures. Okay? By Ron Johnston's of Apex Technology Foresight. You're now here. You're imagining, okay, this is 2020. So 2050, how do you get from here to there? The magic word there is what? Sherman? Imagination. That's a magic word actually. See? That's the tool. That is actually the essence of imagination. Next one. Scenarios are not about predicting the future. We cannot predict. As scientists, we have been trained as predicting because it's all about experimental. But this time, you're dealing with what? You're dealing with not experimental systems. You're dealing here with complex systems. Society, politics, technology, science, economics. So what's the whole point there? Scenarios are not about predicting the future. Rather, they are about perceiving the future in the present. Okay? And this is actually by this Schwartz, The Art of Long View. No? So, with the imagination mindset, kanina, with all this mindset already, you're going to be what? You're going to be imagination-driven experts. Okay? You have to loosen up. You really have to loosen up. You are experts, but take note that you must be what? You're ready to absorb, reabsorb, and snowball along the scenario building process. Kasi, pag masyado kang conservative, what will happen to a scenario building process? Marami kang itatago. You have to open up, basically, your expertise, your field, your industry, what you know of as of now, because we are going to set forth towards the future. 30 years. Okay? So, this is why we have to leap forward. But take note, what we have done already is that we have come up with some trends already based on the previous, I've said already some documents. And these are again some of the ways why you are doing scenario building. Right brain creative, social interactive process, stakeholder involvement, tacit and emerge from a process. Meaning that what you will be creating is not just what an imagination. It's a process towards an imagination. And moving on, why scenarios? There you go. What's the word there? Alternative futures. Okay? What's an alternative? You have alternative 1, 2, 3, and 4. See? So for example, what happened, for example, right now with ENCOM? Do we have an alternative future for that? Meron. What? Well, you have to open up what? The Clark. Diba? So that's a sports. Supposed to be that's a sports community. That is now going to be what? Tainted with what? Yes. You never thought that that was actually going to be a sports arena. Now it's going to be tainted, something like that. Will that do good for the country? That's a little bit scary, you know. A symbolic institution becoming, okay, that's a little bit, yes, very different. Next one, Allow for qualitative perspectives, meaning that how do you want the future to be? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it excellent, etc.? Okay, and eventually allows for sharp discontinuities. 30 years, you might see some R&D, maybe cut off funding because at the end of the day, some of the R&D is actually what? Not doing great at all. No? So you might go into alternative funding for research and development. A tool for ordering perceptions about alternative future environments. And eventually, forms of stories expressing multiple perspectives of complex events. No? Just like Karina, it's all about storytelling. Telling stories, not now, but how to get the stories from now to the future. Okay? So measures of the good scenario, this is actually assumptions. You can question the assumptions. Some insights can be developed. You measure the problem. You share the understanding. This is very important. Rehearsing responses. What do you mean by this? Let's say, for example, you develop around 2 to 3 scenarios. Let's put an uncertainty there in one of the scenarios. A wildcard scenario. Okay? So you pit around 3 to 4 variables. You put an uncertainty that will have a big negative impact on the scenario. What can you do with that kind of scenario? You can iterate it. You can rehearse. If this happens, this is actually one of the processes we can mitigate the impact of this uncertainty. Rehearsal, diba? If you're, I was a fan of karaoke, what? So now when you sing in a karaoke lunch, what? You'll be, someone will clap at you, someone will just say, take off that mic. It doesn't, So nowadays, the karaoke machine is very important as a household equipment because you are now rehearsing. See, you just don't sing in a typical party without really having that kind of practice. See, so that's the whole point of scenario building. It gives you a practice to rehearse your alternatives or your response to that kind of alternative scenario. And eventually, developing robust strategies effective if circumstances change. So some robust strategies can be mixed around. Okay, then on strengths. This is one of the strengths. Okay, another strength. And this one here. Take a look at the last portion there. Challenge existing strategy and policy thinking. Tell me a policy that is actually hounding the science community. Procurement. See, this process can actually derail that or more or less change that policy. Another policy that hounds the scientists or the technological community. Cash basis. Okay, you have so much money, you don't know how many days. 15 days you have to dispose of the money every day. See. How about the brain drain issue? Yeah. Okay. How about the reverse brain drain? Brain drain. See. How about the internal brain drain, meaning that Filipino scientists inside the country will not work for a Filipino company. Instead, they'll be working for a multinational company. See, 4 to 5 years of engineering, you graduate around, let's say, 100 engineers in your prestigious school. 50% of them will go into a multinational company. The other 50%, call center. The other 50% goes abroad. How many engineers are left to create innovations? Yeah. Are you sure that they will come back? See, this is actually a hounding problem for us. Okay, and then of course, strengths. Okay, this is all about decision making. Ito, deliberately present distinctly different possible futures. Who drinks milk tea here? Okay, milk tea. Okay, so how many milk tea is operating now in the country? How many brands of milk tea? Huh? Almost 20. And then every day a new company arises to become a new milk tea. There was this company of a new milk tea, Tipsy Tea. Yeah, tipsy tea. So what do you buy that milk tea? They put a little liquor on that. Okay. Tipsy tea, yes. So definitely you drink tea with a little bit of liquor in that, and it's doing great. Take a look at that. Deliberately present distinctly different possible futures. See, a Filipino just derailed the future of milk tea by having it with a little bit of spirits. And it's allowed? Yes, because how many percent alcohol is allowed? Yeah? Just 3%. So you just calculate the percentage based on the ml, and eventually that's it. You know, a drop or two will make you tipsy, but will not make you what? Lashing. Okay, you're drunk. No? So, see, the alternative could be happening like that. Next one. Take a look at this point here. It is better to get the future imprecisely right than it is to get the future precisely wrong. Tell me industries which we got precisely wrong.
The palm oil industry of Malaysia. Changing it already.
Okay. The rubber industry in the Philippines, di ba? We thought the rubber was too hectic for us, it's too much of a job. What happened? We did not protect our genome, and the rubber was moving from the Philippines, going to Malaysia, Indonesia, and who are now the rubber giants? Malaysia and Indonesia. We got the future of rubber precisely wrong. See? Whereas your cars, the tires there are made from tires coming from Malaysia or Indonesia. Some are even from China. You know, they buy rubber, send it to China, and process it there. Okay. So, what's the data for rubber production? Are we competing? No. Okay, tires specifically. Okay, pitfalls depending on a forecast based on extrapolation from past trends. Okay, what do you mean by this? Extrapolation. Scientists, engineers, etc. Sometimes, they apply extrapolation. So what happened in the past, let's just extrapolate, the behavior will be like this. Diba? What happened to your coffee industry? Nasira ng taas, see? So, yun, talagang wildcard yun, malabo yun. Is there another coffee basin now, or more or less a field that we can plant coffee? Mindanao, could be somewhere in Negros or something like that, see? Baguio is responding actually. They have one of the best Arabica, see? But what is the demand for that? It's big. Do we have enough coffee scientists in this country?
Coffee drinkers.
Coffee drinkers. So yun. Wala tayong coffee scientists who more or less take care of the genome, the gene pool, etc. Make sure that we have enough, genes, germplasm, things like that. Okay? So, as we go along these bullets, you see now science, technology, innovation is what? We have a long way to go. Okay, and that's why foresight is very important. Scenario building is very important. Okay, next one. Weak points in scenario planning. 2 days to. Take a look at that. Okay, we're doing 2 days for you to see scenario planning or scenario building. 12 to 18 months during the past years. But with the internet around, compression time is around 6 months. We can do it, or more or less. But 2 days, it's going to be a challenge. We are just, looking at the tip of the iceberg. Okay? The base, the data that you collect. Okay? Corporate scenarios cannot be published for reasons of confidentiality. Ma'am, this is a national foresight. Will this be open to our ASEAN neighbors? Okay. Okay, so
Not yet. We have to later.
later on, no? So Just imagine why foresight and scenario building is actually, that is a tenet. It is actually intelligence gathering. Okay, so and this is actually sometimes we are too open. We transform the foresight into something that they can see, and that's actually where sometimes you are, yes, vulnerable to copycats or something like that. Okay, so yes, okay. Okay, second to last bullet, only a few scenarios can be fully developed and remembered. What do you mean by this? Just like Sherman kanina, the branding, the catchy title should be there. Scientist is trying to become what? A scientist, you are technical, right? We are trained to become technical. You see that increase in temperature is always by degrees centigrade, degrees Kelvin, etc. We have to be specific with what our technical terms. But in scenario building, because you will be delivering this to different stakeholders, you must be transforming the technical into something catchy. Okay. What's a catchy title for? Scenarios are meant to be remembered by the stakeholders. A mental model exists in every one of us as scientists, stakeholders. That becomes now a battle cry. See? What do you mean by that? People are going to remember that we are moving into this direction. Vietnam has just released their first car last year. Viet Fast. Take a look at the brand. Viet Fast. Yes, fast. Viet Fast. What a name. Viet Fast. See? Emanating from there industry situation, eventually transforming it into a brand. Buying a Viet Fast? Okay, it's from Vietnam? Well, Vietnam, but take of the word fast. It's fast, meaning that it can run. And see how you can now remember such brands. Okay, branding. So again, as scientists, you will be trained later on to come up with catchy titles with your scenarios of the different teams. Okay. Okay, and of course, scenario building is not all about the last bullet there. We are fond of, okay, what's the best case? What's the worst case? What's the most likely continue? If you present it like this, investors or stakeholders will always what? There's a worst case scenario. So if you are presented with a worst case scenario, what will you feel? Yes. Or most likely continue as business as usual. Oh, there's nothing new here. Best case, are you sure that's the best? Show me, di ba? Why is that the best? And since this is the challenge for scenario building. Scenario building is actually, with a catchy title, tells you that a scenario can be what narrative in a sense that how would you react if this will be the situation? Meaning that the mental model could be not really a best case, but a plausible case. Meaning that science, technology, innovations can be integrated together in such a way that you are solving a problem or presenting a solution as years go by, meaning that there is what resolution for this. Okay? So at the end of the day, people will be what? Looking at that from, okay, constructive. Meaning that, you know, we are seeing now where science, technology, innovation is emanating now. Okay, and then the steps in scenario planning is 10 stage. Stage 1, focal issue identification, time frame, and of course, you are all the participants here. I've sent already stage 1 there for the workshop. Stage 2, environmental analysis, which is actually extracting a lot of informations and trends. You know, stage 3, this is very interesting. This is the identification and characterizing key predictable variables. What do you mean by the key predictable variables? See, key variables, factors that can have an impact on your focal issue. Okay? And of course, you are also having the critical uncertainties. It's just like the wildcard. you'll be asking yourself, what if I have known that situation? Okay, so this you are testing now. You want to get uncertainties. Okay, things that you might not seem to know in the next 30 years that can happen. You don't have an idea that it will happen. Okay, but you're putting it on the table as an uncertainty. And of course, stage 5 is clustering the variables, meaning that you're managing it, ranking the variables for establishing the key driving forces, meaning that what drives this variable to be predictive? How will you say that this variable will actually move the scenario? Stage 7 is the logic behind that. How do you put the variables in a graph, in a sense that you will be looking at how they interact? Stage 8, this is the narrative that you'll be creating later on. And stage 9 is assessment. Very exciting because you are going to critique your scenarios. And eventually, stage 10 is the implications. Okay? The implication you'll be extracting. What's the implication for STI, for budget, R&D, etc.? So, see, this is a complete menu actually of scenario building. 6 months, but we are going to tackle this in just 2 days. For the tip of the iceberg, if we can create just one scenario out of this activity per team, well and good, because the next run you can now relate it to more scenarios later on. So you will be trained to based on these 10 stages. Okay?